Now it's time for What's Hot. We talk about stories that have all of us talking.
Today we're joined by John and Willow, freelance writer and editor for Milwaukee Magazine and Biz Times. Jeff Wagner back with us also. Controversy over a proposed policy change in Minnesota's high schools. The High School League will consider a plan that would allow transgender athletes to play sports based on the gender they identify with. There is support. There's also a lot of criticism. What are your thoughts on this?
You know, actually, this is kind of an interesting one because my biggest concern with this is always the competitive issue. What about the 16-year-old boy who identifies as a girl and wants to play in girls' athletics? The way this particular rule works is girls who identify as men could play on the boys' team, but not vice versa unless there was some sort of hormone treatment or something. I guess I look at this and think, actually, this one is a pretty good balanced approach to this issue.
So you agree with it?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it the way this particular rule is. Now, if you didn't have the rule that allowed, for example, the 16-year-old boy who identifies as a girl to play on the girls' team without having to have some of the medical things, I might have an issue just from a competitive purpose. But otherwise, it seems to me this is a way of dealing with what as a situation that doesn't come up very often.
Right, and actually that informs my thinking as well. I wasn't aware that it was one direction and not the other.
Right.
And my concern for transgender kids who hadn't had hormone treatments or surgery was that that physical imbalance going both directions. On the girls playing with the boys teams, because of the extra risk of physical injury, and the boys playing on the girls teams, the same unfair physical advantage. So yeah, knowing that, I think that definitely eases my mind about it as well.
What do you think about, the people that are opposed to this are throwing out that the other kids need privacy as well, and the ad that they've put out there is really stirring things up.
Yeah, it really is. Now they're saying a boy wants to take a shower next to your 14-year-old daughter. Are you okay with that? And it's really not like that. I think if these rules are implemented, that there does have to be privacy for everyone involved.
Yeah, and that's right. And you can address that. This isn't like some of the states that mandate automatically you can go to any bathroom you want. This doesn't happen that often. And I got to imagine if you've got a school that's faced with this issue, you can work out something. You can work out a separate shower facility or a separate changing facility if that is a concern among the team and the parents. Again, I think given the fact that this is a very real issue, this approach that they're taking seems to be a balanced way of dealing with it.
All right, we're going to leave it at that. Coming up next, we're revealing the viewer's choice topic of the day.
And Jesse Ricca back with another look at our cold forecast. Topic of the day.
Again, we're joined by John and Willow and Jeff Wagner. Today's viewer's choice topic: should workers in Milwaukee receive raises to offset the cost of Act 10? Mayor Tom Barrett proposed spending about $4.8 million on raises. Barrett says workers deserve a raise after going without wage increases in 2011 and 2012.
I think this is an unfortunate politicizing of an action that would be nothing more than market force if Barrett hadn't used the Act 10 word. In 2008 through 2012, lots of private sector workers took pay cuts or mandatory furlough days because of the soft economy so that they could keep their jobs and the company could avoid larger layoffs. City workers did the same. Now they have saved, they've given it a few years, they see they're going to save $8 million a year. They want to restore $4.8 million of that. If this were the private sector, that would be applauded on both sides. Still more money in the coffers than there were before, more money for workers, everybody wins. I'm just upset that it was politicized.
See, this is the way Act 10 was supposed to work. You have a savings to the taxpayers. You're right, John Ann. It's $8 million. Now, if the mayor and the common council decide that they want to take some of that $8 million savings and they want to give it back to the employees or distribute it to the employees instead of distributing it to the taxpayers or using it to spend on something else, that's fine. That's a decision then the voters in the city of Milwaukee can decide whether they agree with it or not. But this is Act 10 at its best. Yes, you've got these savings, then allow the local government to decide what they want to do with them. And if Tom Barrett thinks it's in the best interest to give some of this money back, that's fine. I'm cool with it, and City of Milwaukee voters can decide whether they agree when he comes up for re-election in a couple of years.
There you go.
Yeah.
Once
right.
again,
You
we didn't
guys-
disagree.
well,
I
it's
know
what
what's
you
going
guys
on.
today.
Absolutely. All right.
Time for our lightning round. The NFL says Kansas City Chiefs safety Hussein Abdullah should not have been penalized when he dropped to his knees in prayer after returning an interception for a touchdown. He got an unsportsmanlike conduct flag on this. Your thoughts?
The officials in the NFL have been awful this year.
They really have.
just
If you watch Sunday's game, you know
it
that.
was just horrible. And technically, there's a rule that says that you're not supposed to go to the ground, but there's also an exception to that, or at least as they apply it, in religious celebrations. Here's the big problem. When Tim Tebow would kneel down in the end zone a couple years ago, nobody flagged him for that. So if you're not going to flag Tim Tebow, you can't flag this guy. And I think the NFL recognizes that, and they're going to let him do it. To me, this wasn't the sort of extraneous celebration that you get that deserves that unsportsmanlike conduct penalty.
In fact, I would say it's possibly one of the most humble end zone displays of gratitude that I've ever seen. Put his face on the ground.
I think you see a lot of people take a knee briefly.
Yeah.
You know, this is a little bit more, but it's the same concept.
Yeah, I agree. And I tell you, John Ann, we've agreed on all three things
I know.
today.
I
mean,
know. I
don't
got to
know.
come back soon.
Yeah.
You guys going to go out and buy a lottery ticket together maybe or something?
Maybe go have a drink.
This
while
never
it's there.
happens. This hasn't happened in years and years.
Yeah.
I know. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Find something to disagree about. We've got 30 seconds left.
We can talk about parenting, anything parenting.
Right. No, and we agree that the NFL officials have been terrible this year. Those
Yes.
flags they threw on the Packers on Sunday, get in the game for Thursday, for goodness sakes.
Oh, let's keep our fingers crossed.
All right, we want to throw the red flag and do a replay on all of this right now. All right, the What's Hot discussion continues online. Find that page at TMJ.